This is how to set up a Gaposa radio motor. In here we have the silent Gaposa motor, and I'm using one of the K-line transmitters. This is a 24 volt motor, so we have a power supply here which is connected to a standard wall socket. This just makes it easier for the demonstration, being able to turn the power on and off when necessary. However, we do recommend that when this is on site that you do have this wired into a switched fused spur, because it will make your life an awful lot easier should you ever need to isolate just one motor at a time. So this is a 24 volt power supply, and from the motor we have a 6 core cable. So 4 of these cores, the brown, the green, the yellow and the grey, are all for control. So if you're using a dry contact control, you could connect here. However, for this demonstration we're using it just as a radio motor, so we only need 24 volt power going to the motor. So we have our pink and our white cables connected, white going to white and pink going to black. We also have a paper clip. You'll need this, or a ballpoint pen or something that you can press the buttons on the back of the remote control. So when you turn the power onto the blind, you have a window of 60 seconds in which to pair this to the motor. On the back of here you have 2 buttons. The one on the left hand side is specifically for pairing your remote control to the motor. The one on the right hand side is for limit setting. So we're going to turn the power on. If this was a multi-channel remote control, it would be important to select which channel I want to pair this blind to. However, this is a single channel and we have one blind, so there's no need to worry about that. So this is the pairing button on the back of the remote control. What we're going to do is we're going to press and hold that button until the blind starts to move. It will either move up or down, we don't know yet. That's why we recommend installing the blind with a bit of fabric hanging off. The last thing you want is starting with the hem bar here, and then the blind travels up initially, and then the hem bar gets jammed or the blind gets damaged. So we're starting with the hem bar down by around 300 mil. We're going to press this button and hold it, and we're going to observe whether the blind goes up or down. The blind will stop moving as soon as we let go of that button. So it's important that you hold that button long enough to take note of whether the blind is travelling up or down. Then, when you've let go of that button, you have 5 seconds to press either up or down on the remote control according to which way it travelled. So what you're doing at this point is you're not only pairing the remote control, you're also determining the turning direction of the motor so that it knows which way is up and which way is down. So let's try it. So we're going to press and hold this button until it begins to move. So it's travelling up. I'm going to let go of that button and press the up button. You may have to press this several times. And it begins travelling up. Press the stop button to stop it. So at this point, up and down should be determined. So if I press and hold the down button, it will travel down, and I can press stop to stop the shade. Now I need to set limits. To set my limits, I'm going to use the limit setting button on the back of the remote control. What I'm going to do with this is press and hold this button until the blind does a shunt. Then I'm going to set my top limit first. It's very important that you set the top limit first and then the bottom limit. So press and hold the limit setting button until it shunts. There's the shunt. Now I have to press and hold to move the blind to my desired stop position. So I'm pressing and holding. Okay, I'm going to move it up a little bit by using short presses. So I'm just going to shift it up. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's where I'd like it to stop as my top limit position. So I'm going to press the stop button once. It responds with a shunt to acknowledge that top limit position is now set. You can now set the bottom limit. Press and hold the down button until it travels down to the bottom position where you want it to stop. As soon as you let go, it stops travelling. I can now press it in short presses or long presses to adjust where I want that bottom stop position to be. So I think I'm happy with it there. I'm going to press the stop button once and it will shunt to acknowledge that that bottom limit position is set. That's it, limit setting is done. Now when I press the up button once, it will travel to its top position. Now, if I want to change my limits, change where those positions are, I do the exact same procedure again. I press and hold the limit setting button until the blind shunts. There's my shunt. I can now, I need to set both of them again. So this is a procedure in which you need to set top and bottom limits and always start with the top limit. So I'm going to, let's just move it down just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to say this is my new top limit position. I'm going to press the button, the stop button once, and it shunts to acknowledge. I now press and hold the down button to drive it to my desired bottom limit position. So let's say this is my new bottom limit position. I'm going to press the stop button once, it shunts to acknowledge that, and now when I press the up button once, it's going to travel to this new top limit position. And likewise, the down button once, it will travel to its new bottom limit position. Okay, so what if you want to do a complete motor reset? So you want to wipe the limits and you also want to disconnect the handset, take the motor back to factory settings. So we can do that, but this is quite important that if you're doing this factory reset procedure because you want to begin setting up perhaps with a different handset, maybe you want to pair a new remote to it and you don't want this one paired anymore, what I would do is move your shade to roughly in the middle, or at least a few 100mm down from the top. Because if you're going to pair a new remote control, then you're going to be going back through that pairing process where you don't know which direction the blind is going to travel in. So it's always safer to have the handbar away from the roller a bit, so that it's got space to travel up if it needs to. So, to do a complete factory reset, I press the pairing button and the stop button together. So I press and hold them together for about 15 seconds, and the blind will shunt when the motor has been reset. So I'm holding both of them together, and there's my shunt. Now, if I press up or down, the motor doesn't respond because it has been completely reset back to factory settings. So that's how you do a factory reset on the Gaposa motor.